Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 90. Of course, I'm here with Dusty HANSHAW, myself, Big Ron PARTLOW. Today we got a bunch of Instagram questions and we're going to shoot the shit on It's Just Bodybuilding. Dusty, my friend, no hat, no hair.
I did a fresh shave for you.
Can you tilt your camera? You got to tilt your camera a bit. I don't want it to be cutting that clean looking head off.
It's a valid point.
I need the whole dome. The whole dome.
And I got the lighting situation. I still go a little dark. That way I'm, better looking in the dark.
So how much of that hairline is tattoo?
All of it.
The whole thing?
Yeah, my entire head is a tattoo, and I have no hair right now because I just shaved it.
So where do you actually have hair left?
I have hair here, but I don't have any back here.
So that's all tattoo.
I think, yeah, the whole head is tattooed, but so they even tattoo where you have hair. That way, when I shave it, it's even.
You're more dependent on that part of it.
Yeah, and I think what it is, and I didn't really think about this, but I think the heat coming off of my halo as an angel is probably what caused that.
Yes,
for sure. Yeah.
So, I actually, speaking of body heat and being an angel, I noticed yesterday we were training really hard. It's nice out here. It's not hot, but it's nice, We had the doors open, fans on, we're training really hard. And I noticed that I'm not sweating like I used to. I still get sweaty, like on leg day, I'm still sweating and stuff, but like, not like I used to sweat. Like where you're fucking disgusting, you know what I mean? And Dusty's yelling at his dogs. There you go.
Actually, I know what just happened. I have a huge issue inside of my freezer right now because I blew up a drink just now. I'm positive. It's awesome.
Oh.
I don't want to open it. No, I don't want to open it.
Just wait till
if I don't look, it's not there. But actually, I was sitting here, and I'm like, oh, something fell in the freezer. And they're like, oh, I put a glass drink in there. Well, that's gone. Anyways, I do this sometimes.
Okay. That's okay. That goes back to my Diet Coke story. Remember the pop can I left in my truck?
Yes.
And it fucking popped and painted the whole inside of my truck with brown foam. Jeez.
I just love that that number one, my dogs are fucking fierce. Yes. They hear a shotgun and they go towards it, which is impressive. Number two, that I actually immediately was like, oh yeah, that's pissed me off the most about it? That was $2. God damn it. Fuck. It's a fucking wasted drink. Oh well. Yeah, so that was now you know two things. Apparently 5 hours in a freezer is too long for a Perrier. Right. And Yorkies are fierce mother truckers.
Yes. Now everyone knows the second part of that.
Yeah, obviously. They've seen Donna.
So I was just saying that I don't sweat as much as I used to. And yes. I mean, I almost like, I still sweat, but it's not like I used to. Like, body weight, number of calories being eaten, body fat.
I was going to say, because you're lean too. Yeah.
Right? So you know how like near the end of your prep when you're really, really lean, you're like just not as sweaty?
Yeah.
And I noticed like I still run really hot at night once in a while though. Like I'll wake up like the other night, I don't know, I must have just had like extra food that day or something. I don't know what triggered it, but I woke up middle of the night and I was fucking soaked. I had to put a towel down. And then the next morning, Emily's like, you had to put a towel down? I just changed the fucking sheets. Like what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I just fucking melted last night, like brutal. But for the most part, I'm running a lot cooler than I used to run. I remember just being hot all the time at all times, no matter what.
Right.
You live in Arizona, so you must always be hot.
Yeah, A, fat, B, weight, and yes.
All those things I just listed, you're like, yes.
You know all the things that you list as reasons you've cooled down? They're all the reasons I'm getting hotter. Plus, it's 1,000,000 degrees here, so.
Yeah. Those like studies they do where, how people have like, well, I mean, it's not just generically true with everyone, but generally people have this idea that like a marathon runner has a higher metabolism than a big fat power lifter.
Right.
But then they put them in those like biochambers.
Right.
And they realize they're like, holy shit, it's not, it's completely the opposite. The marathon runner's just small because he burns so many calories running.
Yeah.
So his activity level is so ridiculous, but the power lifter is the one who changes the temperature in the room and alters the gas, like the gas ratio in the room of oxygen to carbon dioxide, and just sucks up everything and put one giant strong man in the room and the oxygen level drops, if CO2 level rises, the temperature spikes, humidity goes up.
I was in Chicago. It wasn't dead winter, but it was winter enough that there was snow on the ground. And we were walking from a restaurant to a place to get dessert, and it started raining.
Like maybe freezing, like couple degrees above zero. Yeah.
So now we're walking from a restaurant to a place to get a dessert. It's about 3 blocks.
You've already eaten, and you're going to eat more.
Yeah. So we get there, and we get inside of this. It was like the side of a building, but they just had it enclosed. And a guy looks over at me and goes, Jesus Christ, you're steaming. There was steam coming off of me. And I'm like, what? So I take my phone out to look, and you could literally just see steam. Oh, yeah. I'm like, that is the temperature of me walking outside in a T-shirt in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. You definitely don't run as hot when you lose like 60 pounds.
Yeah, but you do start wearing tank tops, I have to point out. You have a tank top on.
No, I have a sleeveless shirt. I cut the sleeves.
That's the same shit.
Tank top is you got to cut. That's
a vest, I believe they call it
in Australia.
Yes, it's a vest
in England.
Yes, so you have a sleeveless. You wear a sleeveless shirt now that you're not 320 pounds. It's very interesting.
And they call the tank top in Australia as a singlet.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. Singlet. That's right. And when I think of a singlet, I think of wrestling.
Yeah. Hey, so here's a question I had, because this was exactly what I was thinking of. We might have my dog barking a little bit because they're washing the fucking windows in the condo.
That's fine. You can barely hear it on my end.
Spider-Man outside, fucking bang to bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. I'd be more worried if Jed wasn't pissed.
Yeah. So think of all the bodybuilding outfits that you've ever worn.
Yes.
What's the worst one that you remember like trying to wear? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna wear this, and then you like maybe even wear it again. Like, oh, I can wear this, and then you're like, wait a minute, I decided I can't get away with that.
Well, I mean, truthfully, the worst one was for me. I missed the baggies. They were they were coming out as I was coming in,
like the crazy wears and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
But I did. I mean, you were there. You witnessed the stage that I went through, which was I'm gonna wear Peter Pan pants, aka my girlfriend's tights, to the gym as a man, and I'm not gonna wear shorts because that's gay. Sorry, it's not literally gay. Relax, people.
Right.
Like literally, I'm like, no, that's not cool. I'm gonna just wear these with my, Frank and Beans just hanging out for everybody. I did that for a while, and I remember, like, truthfully, even though I thought it looked stupid, but I wore long shirts, like I still do, my giant shirts, so you're not seeing my junk, number one. But it was truly because of the fact that training in it was great. Like when you get on a leg extension, you're not pinching up your pants. When you're squatting, you're not stepping back because my pants are too big, of course. So you're not stepping on your own shit. Plus, it looked good for videos. Well, let me rephrase that. You could see muscle for videos, but it still looked like I thought it was Peter Pan. Right. So but in hindsight, there was, in my opinion, nothing okay with wearing tights.
So you don't wear tights anymore at all. I didn't realize that you'd removed them.
Now I'm you know what it is? I've just accepted the fact that I am a sloppy human and I wear my giant gas pants everywhere all the time.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting. This is a little, I just learned something about you, Dusty, that we never discussed.
Yeah. Well, it was probably a tough subject for you to bring up. Like, are you still wearing tights?
Or
knock that shit off?
I just thought, yeah, I didn't really even notice that they disappeared from your feed, to be honest.
Yeah, I wear shorts now sometimes because it's hot as shit.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that, And then the other day I trained without a hat on, which actually I posted a video. I deadlifted 15,000 pounds, and the only comments were, "Where's your hat?" You were like 50,000. Yeah, it took you a minute to understand where I was going with that. Like it wouldn't have mattered what I did.
Yeah,
like every comment
I just thought that was your total.
You're not wearing a hat.
500 for how many reps? 500 for 30 reps.
Yep. No, it was 15,000 on the bar.
1,000 pounds. Yeah. Oh man.
and yeah, that was the comment. But it was funny because I actually wore a hat to the gym, but I wear the exact same West Coast Iron hat every single day. It is my
new one. We just got some new hats.
Which by the way, my shirts are in the dryer right now. I got shirts.
Oh. How are they? Can you wear them?
Oh yeah, okay, they're awesome. Yeah, they're tight, but they're tight the way that you're supposed to wear clothes. So like I wear shirts like that when I'm not in the gym. That would be like a go out shirt for me. It's formal wear.
Okay, so the one is a 4XL.
Uh-huh.
But it's the tri-blend sort of meant to fit snug. Probably looks great on your arms.
Yeah, that's what I sell mine as too. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's awesome shirt.
Yeah, and then the other one is the big T, but it only come in a 3X, but it's a pretty big 3. So I assume that shirt fits you and then is probably snug in the arms.
Yeah, it's what it is. And you know what the difference is for is the shoulders in a 3 versus a 4, you get inches of width. So it's still I wear a 3 technically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Big stuff.
But I like just falling off of me in the gym. But that one is, which I'm going to find out when it comes out of the dryer. But I think that one I would train in still too. Whereas the tri-blend ones, I don't train in.
Right.
Even mine. It's funny, they look good, but I literally have been wearing loose clothes so much, I feel like I'm like...
Anytime there's material in your armpit, you think there's something wrong.
Yeah, I'm like pulling my shit around, which is funny because I gave Tommy, I ordered for him 50/50s like mine. And then when they all came in, I forgot, and I gave him tri-blends. And I was like, shit, I got to give your other shirts too now. So now he's got like a collection of all my new shit because I was like, oh, well, you already have those too, so it's fine.
There you go. That's funny. Now, I do remember when you decided to wear tapered pants for a short period of time.
Oh, I tried.
That's a separate from the tights. That's a separate
because I don't even count that because it literally was, those were almost joggers.
Yeah, you were kind of wearing joggers. Like I've gone to the joggers now because I have to. I'm a joggers guy now.
Yeah, see, I like them, right? Because this is where people get confused, okay? I think that the jogger look is cool if you're like a cool guy.
Right.
I am not.
You just weren't ready for the joggers.
Like I put them on and I wore it for a few days, and I just remember looking in the mirror. It's how I feel when I put a flat brim hat on forwards. I'm like, so I'm that fucking old guy trying his best to be young and cool, and I am not.
You're one of those Will Ferrell memes.
Exactly.
Right? Where he's like, hey kids, like that funny one. Or that Steve Buscemi one where they're like, when the narc shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, and he's dressed as, hey, cool kids, what are we doing today?
If I show up with the hat like that and those on, people are like, oh, who's the cop?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm the undercover cop that's trying so hard to fit in because I'm 40 years old and pretending that I'm cool.
Well, here's the thing. I tried to wear joggers at one point when I was still really big, right? When they first became cool, like someone gave me a pair of Nike joggers. Oh, they're triple XL. They'll be huge. And I put them on and they were like form-fitting sweatpants.
Yes.
And that was just too close to tights for me.
Yes.
Because I could never I was so far from tights. I could never, ever do them. And I was like, oh, fuck, I can't wear. They're too form-fitting. They're like tight pants. Why would someone wear tight pants? It blew my mind. So I put the joggers away, stayed big for a few years, wore the baggy gasp.
Thank you.
And now I've embraced the joggers fully,
What do you think about this, though? And this is actually still where my brain functions. I see a dude like Jose, okay?
Right.
Injury before injury. And he's wearing joggers, And his legs look small. His legs are huge.
Joggers are amazingly deceptive. Like, I'm training a guy right now who has like 33-inch fucking quads, I bet. And when he wears joggers, he just looks like really athletic and big.
Yeah, but so think about that if you're me, okay? My upper body is, and I'm in a big baggy shirt. So I look gigantic up top. I look like a goddamn martini glass if I wore joggers.
Yeah. Kai Green looks big in joggers.
Yeah, he's the one.
Like, there's just not many people, you know? I remember I remember Quentin was out here from Pure Muscle.
Yeah.
Big Quentin. He was out here training for a week. And he's huge right now and has like huge calves and legs. And he's wearing like normal sweatpants. He had like, I don't know what brand. It was like normal, like Adidas or something.
And they look like joggers.
And they're like tight on the calves, like snug, like gonna pull at the seams. And I'm like, okay, well, if you have those calves, because I'm so calf envious, right?
Right.
So I'm like, well, if you have calves like that, I mean, just cut them off at the knee.
Just
wear shorts forever or pull them up. I got a buddy who pulls them up because he's got huge calves, so he wears joggers, but then he pulls them up a bit,
Yeah, see, I tried that too. I went for that look. I mean, not because of calves, just because I thought it was cool, and I was like, yep, I'm still not cool. I've actually succumbed to that now, so it's fine. I don't need to try anymore. But speaking of the tights, do you remember when Kai Green did the Arnold and he went to Venice to get ready for it with Charles Glass?
Yeah.
There's a picture that I can still see it in my head, but he's wearing red pants with 2 white stripes, and he's in Venice Golds, and I owned those pants. They make my biggest black pants that you know about that I used to wear the Expos all the time look small. That's how big they are. I mean, I could fit 2 of my legs in each one, and in the picture they're tight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and people don't realize like his legs are huge. I'm like, no, you don't understand how huge. I own those pants.
Yeah.
It baffles my mind that they're like they look like I have no legs when I wear them, which I don't care because they're big. But literally, I remember looking when that picture came out. It just immediately I was like, so you have 72-inch quads? That's cool. Wow.
Yeah. Humongous.
And I deadlifted 15,000 pounds the other day with a hat off. So back to you, because I know your story is way better because you've had all the ages. What did you walk away from on the clothing?
So I got the really great like early 90s, mid 90s stuff.
Yes.
Which was like, the boat neck shirts with the tank tops under the tank top strap with the trap sticking out, and
I actually thought that was cool though, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. I love that. I would go back.
I'd bring it back.
I would embrace boat necks with tank tops underneath. Totally. Because even now that I'm smaller, I still got good traps.
Right.
So I could like rock the traps out. I'd even do extra shrugs into my old age just to keep the traps popping, right? So, but the big trap shirt, then it was good for me too. That was my pair of shorts for a guy with calves.
Right.
So, the guys with calves wear the shorts. I had traps in like high school. Like they popped up right away. Boom. Right. So I was like, boat neck shirts are for me. So I used to have my traps out all the time with the giant neck. Fucking yeah. So that was good. I love the boat neck shirts. But I had a singlet. I had the NPC, the Flex Wheeler wrestling suit.
Oh wow.
With the shorts, but the straps that Flex Wheeler wore in like some of his photo shoots, those like Chris Cormier and those guys. And mine was black and bright blue, black and blue stripes, like turquoise. And it had the NPC logo on the leg. And I got my hands on that. And I remember I was pretty young. I was probably like 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
But I wore that with a big boat neck Gators Gym sweatshirt over top.
Right.
Because, my rule has always been, if you're a guy and you're going to wear tights, you got to wear a long enough shirt that we don't have to stare at your dick.
Yes.
Right. So I had this really long Gators Gym sweatshirt and a few other shirts, and I would wear them like long enough, but I would wear that fucking singlet. I think I only wore it like 3 or 4 times. And I was like, I can't do this.
I'd say this is my problem with the singlet.
With the fanny pack.
When you have to piss, you have to get undressed.
Yeah, you got to pull one strap down at least.
That's the logic of me. Like, because I go to the gym, like I'm one of those morons because I drink 700 gallons of water a day. Like, I take a piss and I drive to the gym. When I get there, I take a piss.
I take piss. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't want to have to get undressed every time I need to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was I had that outfit. I wore it a few times in the gym, like it was okay, and then realized it wasn't. Yeah. 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 There's been a few things.
Did you ever have did you ever wear the overalls like out in public as a kid?
No, I never had overalls. I had a good friend of mine who was a very stylish motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a pair of overalls, and we would get dressed up to go out for dinner. And he would show up with the overalls and with the one strap
undone. Yes.
One undone, yeah. With that expensive shirt on, you know what I mean?
Dude, the mistakes that we have made.
Oh yeah,
I had the Tommy Hilfiger overalls.
Oh yeah.
They were
oh yeah.
You know, I mean, nothing really beats my my blue plastic pants that I posted with the truck that day, but
no, I also remember there were these Levi jeans back in the day. I can't remember the number, you know, like there's a number for them.
Yeah.
But they were the ones that the bodybuilders would tell each other, you got to buy the 518 silver tabs or whatever the fuck they were.
Right.
They got bigger legs, right? But they were still pretty tight around the ankle.
Right.
But so we would fold them over and roll them up.
Roll them up, yes.
So we'd tight roll them, and sometimes
there's kids listening that have no idea what we're talking about.
sometimes I'd wear my big 12-hole Doc Marten boots over top of them.
Of course, swallow them.
So I'd have jeans on with Doc Marten boots, kind of floppy at the top, that were like not just high tops, but like boots.
Yeah, the full boot, yeah.
And then the fanny pack with like a tight lycra t-shirt. And we go to the club like that.
Remember those were like they were like ribbed. Remember those shirts? They had like their.
Oh yeah. I never had a ribbed one, but I had some lycra tees. Big gold chain.
Did you leave any vagina for anyone else in that lovely outfit?
No, I took it all for myself, like a vagina farmer.
He's just out there spreading seed. I mean, damn.
I just go to the bar to turn girls down for fun.
Oh, maybe you didn't see my tight roll.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but I got the tall docs on over my jeans.
Oh God, I'm just glad. And explain these stories to someone who gets it. I was telling my wax lady. Somehow it came up about like terrible things. And I was like, dude, I wear hypercolor shirts. I don't want to hear your shit.
Right.
She goes, what is a hypercolor shirt? I'm like, when it would get wet, it changed colors. She goes, so if you sweat, your armpits would change colors? I'm like, mm-hmm. She's like, well, that's a genius idea.
Yeah. I never had one, but I remember those.
Oh yeah. I was fancy. I'm like, why were we so certain we were going to be getting wet all the time? I don't even know what's happening.
I know. The whole tie-dye thing, that was great.
The amount of people that are Googling and pausing this show. Tight roll. What is he talking about?
If they're still listening.
Yeah, they've left. It's valid.
So I wanted to say we have a show we can talk about that just happened.
Like a television show? Oh, wait. An actual bodybuilding show? I am so confused.
Actual bodybuilding show.
I am
what,
so
What
confused.
did you think?
I thought it was awesome.
I thought Justin looked really big.
Yeah, I told you already that I knew he was winning. Yeah, that was not a shock to me whatsoever. But what's the guy in second place? What was his name?
Oh, was that the guy with the Arab guy or the other dude?
No.
So
yeah,
and yeah, Dorian Haywood. We talked about him. I don't know if was that off the air. We talked about Dorian.
I think it was off the air because it was Scott brought him up. And You know what's funny? And I have to say this out loud because I love when I'm wrong out loud. I didn't say this to anybody, but when Dorian turned pro and when he was competing, he kind of reminded me of me. And I don't mean the way he looks. I mean a guy who squeaked in, got his pro card, and that's kind of the end. You know what I mean? And he kept going, and I always respected that because he's got a good career. He's a chiropractor. He's got a good business. He's got plenty of money. But I was always kind of like, wow, that's chasing a personal goal. Like almost like I shrugged him off as he wasn't going anywhere. And then every year he would move up 3 spots, 2 spots. You know what I mean? Right. And then so to see his last couple showings and realize that this is no longer like an upward swing. This is where he is. It's really impressive. I think that for me, he was one of the highlights of the show.
Yeah, he looked really good too. I'm having a hard time finding pictures. I can't remember where I was going to go.
Well, I saw the picture, but I don't even know the guy's name, which makes me feel like an ass. But whoever he is in second place that I cannot possibly find his name.
He looks fucking great.
It'd be on Justin's page because he was posting him too. But it was not a walk.
Oh, actually. No, that other guy was good. I thought, yeah.
I'm pulling it up because he's got them here.
I'm super annoyed that I thought I knew where I was going. That's Instagram for you, though.
I think it's cool that we're doing it live, that we just fuck around and discuss
And then if you ever, when you're looking for somebody and you can't remember their fucking handle.
That's why I wish people just use their names like I do.
You put their real name in, and sometimes it finds them, but sometimes their real name isn't really anywhere on their page. So you put the real name in, it doesn't come up. You're like, fuck, and it's because there's like 2 hyphens and a period.
Well, and like even Justin, I mean, it's in his thing, but nowhere on his page does it actually say his last name.
Yeah. So what is his Instagram? Because I know I follow him. Oh, there it is, Justin D IFBB.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But he has the pictures, and once again, I was wrong because he did not add the guy's name. But anyhow, guy in second looked freaking awesome.
That's unacceptable.
I did not know that Sean Smith had dropped out.
Yeah, I was looking for him, and I didn't see him anywhere.
Yeah, I went back and saw on his page that he had actually pulled out a couple weeks ago.
Any news on?
Maybe it was a week ago. Yeah, he had some sickness. I mean, nothing major, just some things where he knew he couldn't come in at his best, and he really did not want to come in okay.
Mohammed El Imam. So, that was a dude. I don't know if you remember when we talked about the show. I remembered seeing photos of him. I couldn't remember which guy he was, and I was like, he sounds like he's from Kuwait or something. He'll probably be really good.
Right.
Anyways, I'm not sure where he's from. I'm gonna research him more. But he looked fucking awesome. His dialed right in. He pushed Justin hard. He looked good from the front, side, and the back. So that was a great battle. But, Justin is Justin. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, I also felt like, and I have to say this because I feel like no one else says things you're not supposed to say, but us. I feel like Blessing was an interesting spot. And the reason I say that is because phenomenal bodybuilder, awesome first showing, completely clouded by the fact that if you go in talking too much shit to win, suddenly 5th place is a loss.
That's where he wound up, right? 5th?
Yeah. And to me, that sucks because that's a great showing, in my opinion. Your debut to come in 5th place, I think it was 5th or 4th, but whatever, was awesome. It might have been 4th because didn't what's his name come in?
I think he got 3rd. He got 3rd, and then Dorian got bumped down to 4th. I think Dorian had him in the morning, and then I think Dorian kind of faded.
Yeah, you're right because
thanks for that, Scott. For some reason, I thought Dorian was in 3rd, and I think that's because of the morning callouts I saw on Instagram.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, Dorian's gonna get 3rd. That's fucking crazy. So yeah,
but then Carlos got 5th. That's why.
Carlos looked great. And it was so funny when we mentioned Carlos. Remember last week on the show, I was like, Carlos, I forgot that was Carlos that we know from LA. Because I just I know, how many Carloses are, bouncing around.
He's from Texas, but he was
Texas. Yeah, but we saw him wasn't it the LA Fit Expo we worked with him? I can't remember what expo it was. Arnold. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Wacky.
Yeah. He looked great. And as soon as I realized that was him, I messaged him and I'm like, holy shit, good luck this weekend.
Right.
And then he wound up looking great and coming in 5th. So congrats to him.
So, but back to the Blessing thing. I think it sucks that you come in phenomenal, because the reason I say that it's a failure is not him. It's that's how the internet's reacting because of the jump. Now, I think people just get confused because there was a lot. If you talk too much, including other pros, making comments like, well, that's what happens when there's levels to this shit. Because I knew the entire time I had said from jump that Justin would win this show, and I think he's going to win New York as well. But I also think now that I've seen Blessing and he is unreal, we will see. Been wrong many times before, but I don't think that he can. I don't think that he can beat. What's that? Jesus, my brain. Who's he been going back and forth with?
Oh, Walker.
Yeah, with Nick Walker. Yeah. I don't think he can beat Nick. So, no. Now that I've seen him in a lineup, I don't think he can beat Nick. So it's an interesting strategic move to get your name rang like that. But I really do think it sucks because third place at that show in that lineup as a first show is awesome. But the internet's kind of like, see, wasn't what you said, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Because in the same sentence, you got Carlos, who took 5th, and he's competed before, and we're like, fucking right, dude. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Versus 3rd, and we're like, see, not as good as you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's why I like the old school, like, show up, see what happens, and then people would be like, damn, man, 3rd at your debut is incredible.
Another thing I wanted to mention was Big Morgan asked in 6th place.
Yeah.
You see his conditioning from the back?
It's always nuts. The last couple shows with Chris, he's been insane.
Glutes, man. Like, they're just fucking insane. I don't know what Chris is feeding him or not feeding him, but it's probably just not feeding him.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't eat, actually, is the secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that was good. It was just good to see a pro show happen. It was almost weird.
Right.
You know?
And then the 212. Did you pay much attention to that?
Yeah, I did. I skimmed through it a few times and I looked at the top 3. They had some, I can't remember who I was looking at, but they had a bunch of top 3, like all the side, front, back shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to be honest, I kept looking at Jewett.
Right.
Like, they were all great. And you know how that 212 is. They're all really tough to compare because they're all similar sizes as well.
Right.
Like in the 212, like, no one's 6 feet tall. You don't have a Dennis Wolf in there looking at like changing how the lineup looks. Everyone's kind of the same size, and everyone's definitely around the same weight, give or take, the odd Sean Clarita.
Right.
And so it's tough. You're looking at 3 guys that are all, 212 pounds at 5'6" or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, wow, man, I imagine that the judges were pretty much the only ones that can really say when it's like that. I'm not going to sit here and armchair judge from Instagram, especially that class, because it's so difficult to judge in the first place. But
I thought the only thing that I would definitely have said that I would love to put out there is the winner, which is Tonio Burton.
Yeah, Tonio Burton.
Awesome, but I do think he needs to work on his presentation because he has a tiny waist, and from the side shots, he was really having a hard time holding his stomach in. Right. Lower abdominals, I don't know if it was a digestion issue or a posing issue, but I actually thought that it was enough during prejudging. In still comparisons, I thought it was enough to knock him back. Now, again, I have learned from myself, and I tell clients this all the time too, still pictures don't tell the story.
Yeah.
I know, like, in 2013 when I did North Americans, I got 5th, and I remember thinking, there's no way I'm worse than 3rd. How's that possible? I mean, I'm better than these guys. And then I watched the video, eating through my stomach, all prejudging. So it just looked like a pregnant woman, and it's like, it looked so bad. I was like, oh God, I'm glad I got 5th, not 7th. Like, so sometimes you have to see that. But from the stills, that was the only thing the only knock I had on him. His physique is nuts. His shape is nuts. The size is nuts. I have no issue with him winning, but I think if he polishes that before the Olympia, it'll take him up even further.
Right. And I've seen a bunch of pictures of Nathan Epler floating around. He was the dude. He had the beard. Yeah, he looked good, man. He's got a real nice physique, you know, very like pleasing lines and everything, good lat spread, all that sort of stuff. So he was good, and you know, you got to give those guys credit because John was no
I think that was his debut too.
Oh yeah, might have been, yeah. But
You
John
know.
looked fucking awesome. So, and also just so everyone knows, we got John booked on the show. So he's going to be joining us in a couple of weeks when he's done the New York Pro. Going to come on and talk about his year. So we're happy to announce a guest coming soon, relatively.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know, while on the subject of him, it's something that we cover or that we get asked all the time is like how to learn more, how to be a better coach, things like that. He has a coaching school, if you would, that I think people should really look at. It's a J3 University. Guys should look at it. It's very inexpensive. I even have a few guys that I know that are actually coaches that I told them like, hey, this would be a good thing for you to do. I want to say it's $600-700. I mean, it's like super cheap. And the education, it'd be worth it in a heartbeat. So I've been kind of letting people know that are asking a bunch of questions and maybe can't afford to hire someone straight up. I'm like, there you go. Or the amount of people who are coaching that just fucking shouldn't be.
Yeah, I really like John did some great videos leading into the show, just detailing his water and carbs and it was funny because I just found myself nodding okay, yeah the whole time. And then I love my favorite post was he put up a picture of his jug.
Right.
And he had like
the flavored drinks.
Had like flavored iced tea in there or something.
Yeah.
And it was something like, oh, when you look like this, you don't have to cut no cutting your flavored water out. You know, if you look like this, put it in, just keep it in. And I was like, there you go. That's that too. You know, sometimes I tell people, I'm like, hey, maybe the artificial color is what's holding you together.
Yeah. I always find it funny when people want to change something when everything's going perfectly.
I remember I said to Chris one time, hey, do you want me to cut out my Crystal Light? And he goes, what flavor are you drinking? And I was like, oh, strawberry lemonade. And he's like, that red 92 holds the cell together right now. You're just drugs and salt and red 92. There's no carbs in you yet. Once we get the carbs in, we'll be okay. But for now, that's part of what's keeping you together.
That's basically duct tape in this situation, sir. This is your duct tape.
So fucking funny. You know?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for watching another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. And thank you to our great sponsor, TrueNutrition.com, for making this all possible. TrueNutrition.com is owned by Dante Trudell, the creator of DC Training. He wanted to create a supplement company that offered high-quality, third-party tested supplements at a fair price. High-quality protein powders, just about every type you could think of. Huge variety of flavors, plus health and performance supplements. Check them out, TrueNutrition.com. And hey, if you use our code ADVICES, you directly support our podcasting. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the program.
I enjoyed some boxing this weekend.
You enjoyed some boxing? You put gloves on and let someone hit you in the face?
No, I haven't been hit in the face in quite some time. No, I watched the Canelo fight this weekend.
Oh, okay. You do pay-per-view, or did you go to one of those famous bars that are open in Arizona?
We actually go out and do things. We breathe oxygen the whole fucking bit around here. But no, I don't like people, so we did it in the house, like always. Cool. Yeah, ordered it home, and it was classic. And I mean, I'm sure some of you people don't even know, but he's trying to unify and win all of the titles, right? So that he can essentially truly be the best. And this was the second to last. There's one more fight to do, but it was just awesome because. What I love about these phenomenal athletes is they call the shot. Like he literally had said coming in, he was like, I'm going to end this somewhere between the 6th and 8th round. And it appeared to be a pretty solid fight the whole time. I felt like sometimes I feel like the announcers angle based on not wanting to show that they're favoring the favorite.
They go the other way.
Yeah, they're really picking up the other guy. And I'm watching going like, he's busy, but it ain't shit happening. But in the 8th, he hit him with one shot, and it was funny. They asked him after the fight. The guy didn't come out of his corner afterwards, after the 8th round.
So they threw the towel in.
Yeah. And then it was funny because they said, "Were you surprised?" And he said, "No, I went to my corner after the 8th round. And I said, he's not coming back out. I broke his cheek." Like he knew. And then it turns out, I don't know, I didn't follow up, but
they felt it go under the glove.
Yeah, they said that he broke his orbital.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to me to think of the size of those gloves, and for him to be like, "No, I knew."
That'd be like a little subtle pop at the end of that punch.
Exactly. Why did it keep going when it should have stopped?
Yeah, why did it? There's that little bit of pop there where something snapped.
Yeah. I still love boxing, like real boxing. It's such it's an art that people don't realize, and compared to, and I love MMA, but it's just a different thing. So seeing one of the best in the world, the only person he's ever lost to is Mayweather.
Right.
So, which, that doesn't say much of anything.
So what weight class is he?
Super middle. I believe that's what they call it.
So there's 3 main federations, right? WBC, WBF, and IBC or whatever. IBF, what is it?
I don't know them.
Those are the ones
well enough.
Yeah, because I remember Tyson used to have all 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
All 3 heavyweight titles. He had 3 belts. He was like the undisputed champ.
Oh, and he did. I just Googled it real quick. Yeah, he had a surgery following that punch.
Yeah.
To put things, a quadrupod fracture to his orbital bone.
Damn.
And it was funny is seeing it in full speed. Like these guys, they're not big men. He's 160 some odd pounds. But I mean, when you're watching the shots, I'm like, I don't want to take one of those body shots. Like,
well, I mean, my cheekbone is not necessarily any tougher than that guy's cheekbone. I don't want that shot. That guy's used to getting hit in the face. My bone might be thicker because I'm a bigger guy, but what a surprise.
I was going to say, actually, your cheekbone is definitely bigger and stronger than his, and I know
probably
this because of oral surgery I had once, but...
Right.
I had, my friend is a dental surgeon. I had to get a tooth removed. So she's going to pop it out for me real quick. I go into her office, and it starts out as like we're talking while she's going, and then she's working a little harder. Then she's pulling on it. Now she's drilling it and cutting into sections to pull it out one piece at a time. Finally, she gets the fucking thing out, and we've ruined a drill bit. Everything is a mess. Oh, and she literally said, she's like, I've never in my career worked harder on someone. Like, this is an easy thing. And she's phenomenal what she does. So we get through the whole thing. No big deal. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it's the growth. I don't know. And she's like, well, I don't know, but that was fucking terrible. I'm not taking any more of your teeth out.
Right.
And fast forward a few months, and she has another very famous Arizona bodybuilder in there, and I get a text, and she goes, "It's the growth." And I was like, "Oh, did he need a tooth removed?" She's like, "Mm-hmm."
Oh, damn. That's funny. I remember.
She's like, your bones are not the same.
Yeah. When I had my quad removed, I remember my surgeon after, he's like, yeah, your bone density is very impressive. He said, it was hard. He goes, because he drilled extra holes in my kneecap. Because I think I can't remember what he said. It was normally 3 holes and he drilled 5, or it was normally 2 and he drilled 4. I can't remember.
Right.
But he said he drilled extra holes because, he knows I'm going to load it again and all that. And there's a lot of muscles. So, but he said that he had a hard time drilling through my kneecap, relatively hard time compared to someone else's kneecap. And he said it just took a while to get through the bone. So, but that's the knee. So that's definitely like the loading that's caused that.
Right. Yeah. So, but I think it's a combo. But yeah, it was funny to hear. So yeah, good news, Ron. Your face is actually different, but I still don't want him punching you in it.
No. Definitely not. Do you have any questions? Did you do a question thing? You always have
sure
questions.
did. I have a million of them, I'm sure. We've just been rambling, but we have things to talk about, man. We're like an hour deep without even digging into it.
Do we?
So let me see here. There we go. Boom. I have a lot. Okay.
Let's get some questions.
Well, here you go. I don't even know what the hell this means. So here we go. What's your take on Slin pills over real Slin? I don't even know what a Slin pill is.
Slin pill? Like an oral form of insulin? I don't think there is such a thing.
I don't either. I wonder if he's talking about like glucose management more than insulin.
Right. I think he's probably just talking about like supplements or whatever that are supposed to make or is he talking about metformin? That would be the closest thing to a slim pill, I guess, eh?
Well, the answer to the question is there's
no replacement for insulin.
Thing that's the same.
So yeah. Here's a good way to put it. Insulin will kill you if you take too much. Slim pills will not.
Exactly. Unless you choke on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So nothing compares to insulin for, insulin is interesting. You take 10 IUs, you're guaranteed to need to eat.
Yeah, you'll know. You'll know. Don't you? But you know what's funny, and I know we've covered this before, but I have to at least one more time say it. Like, insulin is not what people think it is to bodybuilding.
No.
Like, here I am. I'm doing this push that and I'm up 12 pounds so far, and there's no insulin.
Right.
I'm eating more.
How much do you weigh now? Are you over 300 on the regular?
No, I was 297 yesterday. I was 285 when I started with Jordan. And truthfully, the only tweak is we lowered the test. We increased another thing. And then I do have growth back in my normal at 4 IUs. And then there's no insulin. So that's it. Right. And then my training volume is up. I'm in the goddamn gym like I own the place. Literally, I see people come and leave, and then new people come while we're working out.
So when you say your training volume's up, how much? Like a few more work sets per workout or what?
No, it's ridiculously up because we're doing. So for example, for back, I'll tell you what I did for back the other day because it's a pull day, so it's not just back. So I start off with lying leg curls to get my hams going. Then we do deficit RDLs. Then we go over and we did a unilateral reverse grip pull down on the hammer strength. Then a T-bar row. Then a high handled hammer strength row. Then a wide grip lat pull down. Then shrug, superset with face pulls, and then 2 bicep movements.
Right.
So for me, that's like moving in because I would usually do like 3 things and leave. Right. Like I usually leave the truck running. I'm like, it's fine. I don't want to.
So the air conditioning doesn't stop.
Yeah, I don't want it to get hot. You know what I mean? I leave the dogs now. I'll be right back, guys.
That's funny.
I get my drink when I leave. I don't even sit between sets usually.
So what's the split then? If you got a pull day with some hamstrings on it, what's the week look like?
So it's push pull legs, but pull includes that. I think the only reason we're doing the leg curls is to get them ready.
You might as well do them if you're doing deficit RDLs.
Yeah, it's 2 sets.
Yeah, it's sets still. You might as well just do them. Yeah.
But then when I come in now today, we trained on Saturday, we had yesterday off, today's leg day. I will do a leg curl again, hamstrings again, plus quads.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you meant like there was no hamstrings on quad day.
No. Actually, just because we can, I'm just going to read it because it's funny. Everyone wants there to be a secret, I found. So, and I haven't actually gotten my site up where I want to just put this. I was going to put it on his site, but we haven't talked a bunch and he's just super busy. So I just had someone build me a website instead so I can put all this stuff out there. So legs, adductors. So we're doing 1 set of 10 to 12, 1 of 7 to 8. Then a seated leg curl, a set of 7 to 8, a set of 10 to 12. A hack squat, a set of 6 to 7, a set of 9 to 10. A leg press, a set of 7 to 8, a set of 12 to 15. Yeah. Those we're doing a 2 count pause at the bottom.
The leg press?
Yeah, which is awesome. And I need it because our machine couldn't hold enough weight for me to do 7 reps. Leg extension, 1 set of 15 to 20 with a full 1 count at the peak. A glute bridge, 2 sets of 10 to 12 reps, 2-second hold at the top on the first set, no hold on the second set. A 45-degree hyper. Then we do leg raises, just abs, but we're bringing in the hip flexor, obviously like that. Then we're doing one more, a dual arm dumbbell curl, just leaning into a bar behind me, hitting those, and then calf raises, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, I'm moving in. I come in, I change the music. You alter the temperature of the gym.
How are you finding, like, is your body taking time to adjust to that long of a workout, or is your mind, do you find your mind was like going to wander or anything weird like that you're just not used to?
I mean, I thought it would. Well, number one, to be honest with you, even when I looked at the first workout for chest, or I keep saying chest, for press, I had no idea how long it was going to take. But I forget, like, for example, think about how long it takes me, how many sets on a leg press to be doing 8 reps.
Oh, you got to do like 5 sets to progress up to your work set.
Yeah, and then the same thing with hacks, because I'm still going up to 10, 11 plates on the hack, so it's the same. Yeah. So, I mean, the workouts are literally pushing 2.5, 3 hours, depending on which one it is.
Oh, damn. Because, like, you know, leg press and hacks takes 45 minutes, and then the rest of the quad workout takes me like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of how it would be. But the only tweak is, and I shouldn't say that, I get there and I do 20 minutes with the gun, get my legs ready. Yeah. So it's a good 2.5 hours for the workout. I'm not having a hard time mentally, but I will say that the importance of my EAAs during training is nuts. So about halfway through the workout, I slam all at once 20 grams.
Yeah.
And that's in Jordan. I mean, that's what he wrote, but it does help. So, like, when I'm starting to fade, I just slam all of it at once, and I sip on them the whole time. But I actually have a full 2.5 servings actually that I do all at once right in the middle of the workout. Like, okay, get this down.
Well, the longer your workout, the more intra workout nutritional liquid drinkage is important. Like, if your workouts are 40 minutes, you probably don't need anything. It's not going to even make a difference. You can just eat as soon as you're done.
Yeah.
But if you're training, 90 minutes, 2 hours, it's like, you start to, like, Well,
and I'm doing a pre-shake right now. So I do 50 grams of protein, 100 grams of oats dry, 100 grams of banana, 20 grams of honey, and then 10 grams of sunflower seeds about an hour before I go in.
Right.
And that's actually, what's funny is I haven't done a pre-shake in so long. And with these workouts, it's a game changer. Like, it's a must.
How far out is it?
Meal. I do that an hour out. So 2 hours out, I eat a meal. 1 hour out, I have that shake. And then I train. And then, like I said, intra, I don't do any carbs. It's just the EAAs. But
just aminos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
fuck, that's cool,
though, man. Yeah, it's fun. I like it. A lot of people are asking, like, why would you hire someone for off season? Because, arguably off season's kind of the easy part. You eat more food. And the answer is you default, or I shouldn't say you, I default back to what I always do. And I have a tendency, if I want to push for more, not for a client, but for myself, I pretend I'm a different thing, and I do too much. I'll find myself wanting to train 6 days a week, knowing full well that's stupid. You know what I mean? It's so nice. And for the biggest reason for me was I wasn't eating. I'm not going to pay someone a few grand and not follow the damn diet.
Yeah.
So, my cheapness overrides, and it's been surprising. The food has been so easy to get down, dude. I went from 3 to 4 meals a day to 6 or 7, and they're just going down. It's been easy.
Right.
So
I want to see 300 soon, right away.
Oh, it should be by next week for sure at this pace. Yeah. So it's been easy.
Awesome.
I told Todd, was like, it's just cranking up. And I'm like, it'll pause at 305 like a slammed brake. I've done this many times. I just shoot up, and then all of a sudden 305 is kind of like, all right, we're going to hang here for a little while, especially knowing I'm not doing everyone's secret source insulin that they think is so magical.
Right. Well, just wait. It'd be, 350 when you start the insulin.
Within a week. As long as I train with a hat on.
I've got one.
Shoot.
What's your earliest memory of wanting a career? Like, what did you want to be? What's the first thing you remember wanting to be when you were a kid?
11 years old, professional hockey player.
Right. So there wasn't anything before that.
No. Yeah, no. I mean, prior to that, I just was a kid. And then literally the moment
prior to that, I was pretty busy just being a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Doing man shit. But yeah, no. And for me, the hockey was a light switch thing. Because people told me instead of I telling them, and that's when I was like, oh, I guess this is what I'm going to be doing.
Right. I see what you mean.
You know, I think that's the difference. Is most kids have like a dream thing, and that's where they come up with, I'm going to be a firefighter or whatever the hell it is. I started playing hockey at 11, which any Canadian will tell you that's like 8 years late. But my
that's
parents,
like Americans in football.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait, you could walk and you didn't have skates? What's wrong with you? But no, I told my parents I wanted to play. We bought equipment. They put me in a learn to play league where they teach you how to skate and shoot and all that shit. I got moved out of that to the B team in a week. And then we played one weekend tournament, and they were like, you can't play here. You have to play on the travel team. Like the next week. I was like, what is happening? My dad's over here going, have you ever done this before? I was like, no.
That's awesome.
You know, funny. So what about you?
I vividly remember, I remember a few careers. I remember wanting to be an archaeologist because I thought Indiana Jones was like a cool job. Because I think, I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was like 7 years old, and I was like, he's an archaeologist? He gets to look for treasure? I'm like, nice. That's amazing. When in reality, an archaeologist is like a professor job, and you're like brushing with dirt, like in the desert for like 6 months trying to find something that no one else cares about.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a lot of action and adventure. You don't really get to kill any Nazis.
Which is bullshit.
Which is fucking bullshit. If I'm brushing in the desert, I want to get to kill some Nazis.
Obviously.
So I remember wanting to be an archaeologist, and I remember like saying it. Like, I'm going to be an archaeologist. And I remember people being like, oh, well, you're going to have to go to like college and get a, I don't know what you get a degree in anthropology and some other stuff, maybe. I don't know. Science degree. I don't know what the fuck you get. Anyways, so that was one. And then I remember, which was so funny because years later it became a joke, but I remember wanting to be a marine biologist.
What is with you?
Because I was obsessed with sharks. I remember being a little kid and I would draw sharks all the time. And I would buy shark books and I would ask for shark stuff. So like for Christmas, I'd get like a pillow with a shark on it. And, I like loved sharks when I was a kid. And I remember I could identify all the sharks. I could look through a book and go like, oh, that's a thresher shark. That's a 6-gill shark. That's a black shark. That's blah, blah, blah. And I would name them all.
Right.
And I wanted to be a marine biologist. And then I remember laughing my ass off years later when that Seinfeld episode came out where George is like, I've always wanted to be, where he's at the beach and he goes, I'm a marine biologist, and he saves the whale. That was such a fucking funny episode. I remember just laughing to myself about that. It's like, oh, George too.
You too, buddy, huh?
Yeah. And then I remember when I was a kid, I can't remember his name now, which is a shame, but I met an astronaut, a guy who was like the only Canadian at the time. I can't remember his name. Is it Mark Garneau? I can't remember, but he stood on the moon. So he's like the only Canadian that did or something like that. I can't remember. Anyways, he did like this appearance at our school and talked about being an astronaut and talked about launching in a rocket to space and all this shit. And I remember I wanted to be an astronaut for a while. And then I remember someone told me, they're like, if you want to be an astronaut, you have to join the military. Because that's where they get astronauts from.
Right.
You don't just go to astronaut school. You don't get to skip all the shit. You have to like fly jet fighters for a while or whatever. You know what I mean? So I remember thinking, I don't really want to join the military. So I gave up on the astronaut one.
Mark Garneau.
Mark Garneau, yeah.
Garneau, yes.
Yeah.
There's your guy. I had to look. 1984.
Yeah. So he came to our school and gave us like a presentation on being an astronaut. So that was pretty cool.
And then what'd you do?
And then I started lifting weights, and I forewent all further education and forward momentum in life.
I'm gonna disagree with the education because you still are the king of useless information.
And I decided to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of looked at it, is when I was done. So when I realized I was done playing hockey, I was like, well, I don't want to be normal. Like literally, that was my thought. Like, I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, but I'm not gonna punch a clock. That's terrible.
No.
And that was it. Like literally, that was the game plan. My dad's over there like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, this is your grand plan. Is what you're not going to do is get a normal job. Yes.
Right.
That's gold. Yeah. See, yours always have like a thought process, some good educational reasoning. I'm like, well, I shouldn't want to do anything.
I thought Indiana Jones was going to be like an adventure that was possible.
That's gold right there, man. You are welcome.
You are welcome.
I was answering someone without asking the question. Oh, this is important. Ribs or brisket?
Brisket.
Of course. Agreed.
I've never been a ribs guy. Not a lot of use for ribs.
There's a lot of work and mess involved for ribs for what I get.
Yeah, so let's get into something that I have that might some people might think that
I just already happy about this. Let's get into it. Like, oh shit, where are we going?
Some people might think that I'm a fucking something's wrong with me. I don't like messy food. I eat pizza with a fork and knife most of the time.
You don't do
I just do. It depends on the pizza, and it has to be the right temperature for the cheese to tear when you bite.
You don't want to stretch.
Yeah, I don't want to bite and have like everything slide out and hang, and then there's just bread in my hand. Right? There's a lot of things that bother me with that. I want like equal distribution of meat and cheese on every bite. I know it's fucked up, but I don't like messy food. Some pizza you can just devour with your hand. It's like easy, but other times, nah, fork and knife.
That's freaking. I'm just happy at your weirdness.
That's why the only wings I ever get are salt and pepper wings.
Oh, dude.
Because I don't like sauce on my wings. It's fucking messy and disgusting, and it's just too much.
Do you know that the greatest wing in the world is?
Salt and pepper wing?
No, you were very close. Sea salt and vinegar.
Sea salt and vinegar.
Yeah, like the chips.
Right. Okay.
They're at a grocery store here. Matt, of all people. Kafora. He's like, you gotta get Safeway wings, and I'm like, what's your ghetto ass doing getting wings at a Safeway? Like I was so
right. That's like certain specific restaurants you do wings at.
Like, I was like, wait, what? So I risked it. I risked my life.
You throw them in the oven. What did you do with them?
No, they're ready. They're just back in the day before the terrible sickness that would kill you only if you knew you got it by asking someone. They used to just be out, and you would just pick them out of the thing and put them in a little box and take them home. Number one, they're like a third of the price of wings here.
Oh, they're at like the deli part. They're
just sitting out. And dude, I'm smelling them in my truck as I'm driving home, and I was like, well, there's no sauce on them. I'll just reach over there and try one. Take a bite. I called him immediately. I was like, you have saved my life, sir. And he was like, what? I'm like, this is the greatest wing I've ever had. He's like, holy shit, you went immediately? I was like, well, yeah. Like, you told me this because I used to go to a place called Zips to get wings, and you would get a dozen wings. So I think I've told this before. Dante used to tell me if you can't eat, buy chicken wings because you can always eat them.
Yeah.
So I would get 36 wings, come home, sit down, eat, watch sports. They would go down. So I don't know, about 2 years ago, I called them and I was like, all right, can I get, I want to get 36 of your wings with ranch. And the guy goes, well, they come in 10s now. I'm like, 10 wings? He goes, yeah. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll 30 wings then. And he goes, okay, $43. I'm like, what?
It went up and down at the same time.
Yeah, $43 fucking dollars.
So more than $1 a wing.
30 wings.
Yeah.
I was like, do you offer financing or that shit we do with supplements where I can pay for 3 months or what's going on here?
That's funny.
So that was that. But yes, to answer the question, brisket is the right one, and moist brisket, if we must know.
Oh yeah.
I don't need that dry bullshit. Sorry.
So I have just a short story about me almost losing my mind in rage for a split second the other day.
The other day.
So
go.
I thought so I got up and I was 248 one morning. I was like, holy shit, and back down under 250. Okay, I'm really like light. And then I rode my bike that day for like 2 hours.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get some McDonald's. Like, fuck it. I'm getting some McDonald's. Haven't had McDonald's for a while. So I went and I got a big bag of McDonald's, like 2 double cheeseburgers, some nuggets, fries, apple pie. It's all in the bags. I put it on my seat. We're going. I'm pulling out, driving down the little side street. And this car just like shoots through a stop sign because it's a 4-way stop. And he just shoots through a stop sign up ahead. So like 3 cars slam on their brakes, like suddenly. And I slam on my brakes. And also in my new vehicle, these like alarm goes off.
Yes.
Like surprised the shit out of me because I hadn't gone off yet. It's like beep, 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 beep. Like you're
approaching too fast. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like slam on the brakes, bag of McDonald's, shoots off my seat.
Into the dash.
Hits the dash, flips upside down, and and as it falls to the floor, it just everything hits and so it lands on the ground, and I see fries and nuggets sticking out of the bag. And I'm like, well, fuck, how do I pick this up?
Right.
So I try to like scoop the bag up so I could turn it over.
Right.
And like as I'm doing it, I see cheese from the burger mashing on the floor. Like the burgers were like everything came open. It was like the impact with the dash just popped every box open. And as it hit the ground, like there was nothing I could eat in that bag. Wow. I mean, I've eaten dirtier things than nuggets off the floor mat, Dusty.
That's good as a later question about eating ass. But anyhow.
But we'll get to the ass eating later. But I was just super pissed off. And I had this moment. I was like, fuck. And then I thought, well, back to McDonald's.
Took a deep breath and went back.
A deep breath. I went back, got everything except the Diet Coke. So I spent like $45 at McDonald's that day.
Dude, it's awesome.
I told the girl, I lost my bag of food. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, it fucking, like I lost it on the floor. And she's like, oh, it's too bad.
Girl, that's all the reaction I get? That's the reaction I get?
She's like, well, actually, to be honest, I don't even think she remembered me. So I was like talking to her and she's like, why the fuck is this guy telling me his problem?
Thanks, bro. I have no idea who you are.
Yeah. Just those little moments in life where you just have to like gather yourself and go, this isn't really that important. You know what I mean?
Oh my
okay. God. You said you had an ass eating question. So now I'm like holding out like.
That was the question. Do you eat ass? That's it. Full question. And I don't even feel the need to answer. It's like, listen, kiddo, the things that we were doing before you were born, long before it was cool.
Oh, these people that think they're the first ass eaters. Jesus Christ.
It actually is funny because I'm like, it's not even a funny question anymore, but whatever.
Everything we were doing in the 90s trumps that.
That's like when I'll get that question sometimes. Weren't you worried all that sweetener that you're taking and you're going to get sick? And I'm like, do you?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to get into all the things that I do that you should know about, let alone the ones you don't know about. Holy fuck. You think, yes, it's what put him down. The doctor like Splenda. It was the Splenda. Just
a little too much for the system to handle.
Forget about not knowing that you weren't supposed to have 2 of those pills back in 2015. Anyways, it was a hell of a pool party.
Yeah. Oh, FedEx knocking on my door. I'll just let my dog take care of that.
Well, speaking of, because I'm not an expert, I'm going to say this out loud since no one likes to admit they don't know everything. Metformin. Give a breakdown of that if you know well enough to.
So the metformin, Jesus. So
I remember I threw an A in there just randomly, metformin. But go ahead, metformin.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember back in like 95 when I got to Australia. I remember there was a couple guys that were like, "Yeah, I started taking a bit of metformin, like, and you have to eat like a little bit more carbs and blah 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 blah." So they were talking how it was kind of like insulin. And then I remember looked into it and they're saying, oh, it makes you really sensitive to insulin because that's what it does, right? It's like it makes you super sensitive to insulin. So anyways, there were guys that I knew taking it back in the 90s that were experimenting with a bit of metformin. I've never used it.
Me neither.
But obviously. Yeah, and I haven't even, it's been so long since I read up on it because to me it's like old news, but I know it's kind of come and gone a few times in fashion, sort of like walking lunges and, various pieces of clothing. They come and go throughout the.
Enough about sequins.
Yeah. There's just these things that come and go in the bodybuilding industry. And I know metformin sort of like resurfaced a few times because there's always like, 10 years will go by and then someone will kind of start pushing it in articles. So I actually probably have a lot to catch up on regarding metformin because I'm not sure what the latest is about it. But what's your take?
Well, I mean, you covered literally everything I know, because here's the thing I think a lot of people have struggled with is I don't dig deep into things that we don't use, that aren't necessary. And I think a lot of times, not to say that it's completely useless, but that we're searching for the secret. And I don't know any pros that use it.
Right. That's another thing is like, people say, have you used metformin? And I'm like, well, I worked with Chad Nichols and the goal was to get as fucking big as possible. Like that's all we talked about. I was like, listen, Chad, I don't need anything but to be bigger. We got to get bigger. And he's like, hey, that's everything we got to do to get bigger. There was no metformin involved. He didn't even mention it. And then I worked with Chris for years, and Chris is really into like, this just dieting hard and getting shredded and the stuff that makes you more shredded. Like he's really into that stuff. And he never ever, I don't even know if Chris knows what metformin is.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of what I wanted to present here is the same exact thing, which is you're looking for a secret that's not there. I mean, I'm doing the exact thing right now with Jordan, and the insulin's not there. I'm not saying it's not going to be, but it's not there. Metformin, I know, will not be there. And literally, I told him, I don't give a fuck about bodybuilding. This has nothing to do with ever competing again as big as humanly possible just because I've never taken that approach before.
Right.
My health is phenomenal. Got a full panel. Everything looks great. And you're not seeing a bunch of tricks with weird, obscure drugs or supplements or anything. So that's kind of why I brought it up, because I have such a very weak overall understanding because there was no reason to dig deeper. There's nothing sexy about it to me. And I've researched enough to know it's not changing the game. So fuck it.
Right. It says here, I just did a quick Google, makes your body more sensitive to insulin.
Sure, I don't know.
Which is that's why people take it. That'd be the number one thing. You're like, oh, it'll make my body's insulin more efficient. I guess it also decreases absorption of sugar through the small intestine.
Right.
So in a way, you're not getting all the carbs you're eating, I guess. And then number 3, it says it lowers sugar production. And
so if you have a glucose issue,
they're talking about within the liver. So your liver will make less glucose out of other stuff.
Right.
So, those all sound interesting, but I'm not sure to what degree they actually impact the physique or, because it's one thing to say, oh, it increases this, but if then you look at the data and it's like by 0.1% or something. So, but I know metformin works well enough that it is a very popular diabetes drug. But
right. I think the bodybuilding crossover is the question mark. And I think that the big thing to push on, I don't ever want to downplay drugs or the advantages. At the highest level, guys are willing to do anything to have an edge. Anything, even dumb shit, to have an edge. So for the fact that I literally don't know anyone who uses it at the highest level tells me you guys don't need to be worrying about it unless you have those issues already. Now, if you have those issues, then absolutely. But as a healthy male trying to manipulate the way his body looks, no.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Yeah. And there's also too, like, when it comes to blood sugar, like blood sugar really impacts you. Like it can ruin your day, it can ruin your workout. Mm-hmm. It can fuck you up at work. It can take you out of any task that you're doing, a bad blood sugar episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is, if you have a blood sugar episode, it takes absolute priority over anything else you're doing at that point in time. I don't care what it is.
Oh yeah, it'll stop you.
So I always tried to like avoid stuff that has the risk of being that disruptive, so stuff that can mess with your blood sugar a lot. Like, I don't know, maybe you take too much metformin and you're like, holy fuck, like I gotta eat, I need sugar. Like, who knows? I don't know how it feels, but I'm just saying that's my general take on all drugs is like, if you're going to add a drug into your repertoire, it can't be like a fucking nuisance.
No, it's the same. A lot of people ask about insulin before training, and my answer is always,
you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't fuck up your training.
Yeah.
Because anything that alters the training for a negative, in my opinion, isn't worth it, no matter what it's doing.
Yeah, yeah. This one guy at my gym, I actually had that talk with him. He was like, comes up to the counter like halfway through his workout, and he's like, hey, I need a Gatorade really bad. And I'm like, okay, and I give him a Gatorade. And he's like, can I pay you after? I'm like, yeah. And he pays me after. And then he did that a few times. And I'm like, are you like taking too much insulin or something? He's like, oh, it must be. I'm like, well, then quit doing it.
Just knock it off. What if I'm out of stock one day?
He even told me, he's like, yeah, I have like a 50-gram carb drink while I'm training. And I was like, it's just not enough. And I'm like, I don't even want to know how much you're taking. Just fucking cut it down. Cut it down, way down. Like, you shouldn't be able to.
Please don't go out in my gym.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you're buying a Gatorade every single time you come in here.
I love the overpriced drinks, but
Gatorade sales have never been better. But can you maybe manage your blood sugar a little better than this?
Look at this, dude. This is how legit it's getting. This is my pre-workout shake. It's already ready.
That's awesome. And I was gonna say, listen.
Hey.
Stainless steel shaker, So,
look, me too, but this is the ice one, the ice shaker. These guys are awesome. The ice shaker company is badass. And look at you guys, you're getting free props right now. They're coming out with like a 36 ouncer that's supposed to be out this month.
Oh, nice.
And I've already got on the order. I'm like, cool. Because my only downside that I drink with these during training now too. You with this fucking thing. I'm not doing the plastic anymore.
I didn't mean to ruin. So that ruined.
You have affected my life.
A lot of people were really upset. They're like, "Fuck! I had to go buy a bunch of glass Tupperware."
Look at it.
I watched that Joe Rogan clip.
This is my drink right now. This is my pre-workout drink. I'm like, damn it.
I know. I had a lot of people message me because I put that clip on my Instagram too.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was like, fuck.
It's so funny because that shit never fucks with me, and for whatever reason this time I'm like,
yeah.
Damn it.
This one guy told me he was like sitting eating his meal out of an old scratched up red stained, like
he put pasta in it once.
Yeah, Tupperware dish. He said he was sitting eating out of it, listening to the podcast. And he was like, oh, like he said, he's like instantly just was like,
he looked down, his penis was shrinking because that's what it does apparently.
He was like, I gotta change my life.
His wife's like, I knew it.
Yeah. So he messaged me. He's like, thanks, bro. I had to go and buy a bunch of fucking glass Tupperware.
Yeah, $120 later because he watched your show.
Finish my meal.
These companies should be so happy with you because now everyone's going to buy these things.
No, I know.
But no, all kidding aside, so that's my intro. It comes out of I put it in this now, but I'm laughing because I'm like, well, I have to bring a couple of them because I drink too much. So, because I told you, I've got the full serving that I slam, and then I have essentially like the one I sip on, which takes 2 more bottles. So I have 3 of these 75-pound shaker cups in my fucking bag every day.
That's how.
All because of you, my right shoulder from my bag being on it is going to have an issue.
Yeah, the only downside to glass Tupperware is I remember one time we're in the London airport, and I had my mutant cooler over my shoulder. And then it like slipped off my shoulder and it hit the ground and I just heard a pop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh fuck. So then I get up to the front and they pulled me, and I never get pulled in London. So he goes, Kim, just go and open your bags. And I'm like, just warning you that there's a exploded glass Tupperware in that one. And the guy looked at me like that, that's like, he probably didn't understand what I meant. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And he like unzips it and his glass shards just fall out all over the counter. And he's like, ugh. So he holds it over the garbage and just shakes it out.
So you were being very literal with this exploded
He
glass.
goes, luckily I'd eaten that meal though. The one above it was fine. The one above it didn't break. It was just that bottom
awesome,
one.
Then.
So you just got to make sure. You just got to make sure. So I figured out a safety for that actually is if you have 2 meals in glass, because the lids are plastic,
put them over.
I put them in upside down.
Makes sense. It's funny that you say that though, because I literally, when I went out of town last weekend, I brought my condemned bag, same duffel bag. I usually only take 1 bag, but I took 2 because I knew I was going to train legs, so I needed all my shit. I need my squat shoes, my belt, all this stuff. So I brought that extra bag. Well, I put food in it also that was frozen to just fly. I was going to check it. And then I get out of my truck, I throw it over my shoulder, and when it hits, it weighed so much, it snapped the plastic piece, and the whole thing hits the ground, and I'm like, yeah, this is broken now, but at least there's nothing in there. They're all frozen in Ziplocs. But literally, I was like, okay, so there's a weight limit on this of 49 pounds, apparently.
That's funny.
You got another one?
I've broken some bags before. Okay. What are we looking at here? Is it my turn or your turn?
It doesn't matter, but I have one that I want to ask because I want you to answer this because I really want to kind of somehow drive this point out to people. This is the question. Will eating at maintenance on Tren and Primo give good recomp?
Oh God, that's just an impossible, like, who knows? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just a question that has no answer because there's so many other variables. Okay, you're eating maintenance calories on recomp, but are you training like a madman? Do you have good genetics? Have you been on the juice endlessly for your whole life? Are you just doing your first cycle? There's just so many factors. Like, what does that mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Someone who hasn't done juice in a long time or whatever, fuck yeah, they'll probably recomp like crazy if they're obviously doing everything else right. But you know what I mean? Like someone whose body's just so fried from taking Tren all the time, like they're just gonna stay the same or whatever.
You got to worry. I guess the reason I'm glad you answered it that way. It's funny that I cannot tell you what I'm trying to get, and you always seem to grab it. So I was watching a video yesterday. Phil Mickelson, the golfer.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. Well, people will ask him like, how far do you hit your wedge? And they'll say something like 120 yards. He goes, well, maybe not in the morning if it's cold. Or what if the fairway is built this way? Or you know what I'm saying? Like he listed literally like 15 variables that would change that.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, did it rain? Is the ground wet? Like literally he started busting out. Is the grass that it's on going against the grain or for? And he starts breaking down what that does. And he's like, so you don't hit your wedge 120 yards. Not every time. And that is this question, which is yes, no. You know what I mean? So yes, sometimes you hit your wedge 120 yards.
The main thing that most people don't get when it comes to bodybuilding is you have to pick somewhere to start, and then you have to make adjustments.
You literally nailed it because I'll have people ask that all the time as well. Is what are your macros? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just know what I'm eating. I forgot my macros a long time ago because I've adjusted them so many times.
Yeah, well, I don't even start. I mean, truthfully, like when Jordan sent this over, here's what I know we're going to do.
Yeah, you didn't bother adding it up.
Food. Yeah, and we're going to need more or less of all 3 things.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
You don't have to ever know your macros, and you don't have to ever know your calories.
No.
You just have to know, like, what am I eating? And this goes up or down.
Yep. And that's why it's so important, and it's something that we should drive home with people as well, is that's why you need to know what you're eating. I literally just had this conversation, and I'm going to tread lightly because it ended up ending the client relationship, and I'm not talking shit, but the issue was this. I'm losing too much weight. I'm getting smaller. My pants that used to not fit are fitting. And I said, in the waist? Yes. You're getting leaner. You're not getting smaller. No, I am. I'm getting smaller. Should we add more desserts or something?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm trying not to get frustrated, but I'm like, you're literally asking me to feed you bullshit to keep the scale up. But that's not what we need to do. You're actually looking better, but the scale is telling you you're smaller. Your pants fitting. I mean, for God's sakes, that's great news. That's like saying I'm losing weight, but I'm down 3 notches on my lifting belt. Well, good. Like, you know, so you want to be looking at what's actually happening. And the only way you do that is by adjusting food accordingly. Like, you don't necessarily need more calories if your levels of muscularity are going up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and it is possible. A lot of guys just can't get it through their head. It is very possible at some points, depending on supplementation, to be losing fat and gaining muscle.
Yep.
You know, it's a magic zone.
It's a magic zone that you can get into occasionally for various reasons. And one of the things is, I think the guys that get where they want to go with their physiques, and the ladies that get where they want to go with their physiques, they recognize when those windows are open to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, they don't like mentally, you know, some people just are mentally their own worst enemy.
Oh, it's most bodybuilders.
Like, the way they talk is just so brutal. Like, I had one client, he's like, my legs are shrinking. I go, why do you say that? And he's like, my pants are looser in my legs. So this is like that's why, I mean, the story you just told. And I was like, okay, well, you've dropped like 8 pounds in the last month. And
you had some fat in your legs.
You have fat in your legs. Like, that's where a lot of fat is. And we just talked about how you squatted the most you've ever squatted for the most reps you've ever squatted it like 2 days ago.
Right.
So what are you upset about? Like, they're just mentally not able to keep it together.
Right.
Like, you're clearly getting better because you're stronger than ever.
Right.
And your pictures look better than ever, but yet you're going to choose to focus on this one weird thing and be negative about it.
Right.
And that's one of the most difficult things about trying to help people. And it's one of the things that, if you want to be a successful bodybuilder, you have to be able to get past that mental bullshit. You have to be able to take control of your mind.
Right.
And that's why a lot of guys don't get in shape, right? Obviously, do we have to feed me more desserts, right?
Right. Well, I think that's also why that's why it's nice to hire someone, because I don't suggest people blindly follow. Don't get me wrong, particularly with all the moron coaches out there. But if you do your homework and you trust your coach, when my brain starts to flutter, Chris has got it.
Right.
JP's got it. You know what I mean? And there's only been literally, I know I've talked about this with you before. I don't know if it's on the air. There's only ever been one time in my entire career that Chris made sure that I've listened to him. And the reason was, we were getting close to a show and I did 3 high days in a row.
Yeah. And
I just remember, truthfully, it was so funny. He sent me the email. He's like, I need another high day. Make sure you have 2 double cheeseburgers with meal 5. Do this. And I remember reading it, and I told Evian, I said, I think I'm just going to do ground beef for that meal. Like, I already started undoing it, because it just in my head, I was like, dude, we're like 10 days out, you know, and literally as I'm talking to her, I get a text. I need you to just do what I said. And I'm like, fuck, he knows. Like, he knew I was going to have a hard time with another high day.
Yeah.
So I did follow through, but the point is I shouldn't have done that. He knows the goal. He knows what we're doing. And he's had me for a decade. We're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. You know, so I do understand that moment. It's just for people like you and I that are obsessed with being shredded, it's probably opposite of most people. I'm never worried about being big. I'm like, I got that. But I got to be peeled because the physique's ugly. If it's not sliced out of its mind, it's not good enough.
I always had I'm not quite big enough. So I have to be sliced out of my mind so that all the nooks and crannies are deep enough that my, you know, muscles look rounder. Like,
that's actually so funny, because you are the reverse of most people. They say I'm not quite big enough, so I need to be heavier, which just makes them look smaller.
Yeah, because I knew that so my take was if you're a tall guy and you're not peeled, that means there's like a larger area there's gonna be some area on your body that's not peeled, right? And it's bigger than the other guys because you're bigger.
True.
So you've got a bigger area that's not shredded. That's visually,
which makes it very obvious that it's not shredded.
Yeah, you know how like if Jose is peeled everywhere, but doesn't have his glutes like ripped, they're a lot smaller.
Right, yeah.
Like his
the
glutes
top
are
to
smaller.
bottom of his ass is smaller, so
and everything's big on him. So it's like, well, he's pretty shredded. But if like a tall guy, it doesn't have shredded glutes, it's like a 1.5 foot long.
Right.
And it just, I don't know, it just to me always looked so much more visible. It was always like more of a big bright red light. Like I'm not shredded.
I think too, though, you can. It's so funny you say that. So Chris used to work with Troy Alves, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Troy's legs are small. They're just small. Like they just are.
Troy wasn't big at all.
But I mean, he was 211 pounds on stage at the Olympia.
At like 5'9".
Yeah. But you'd watch his progression. He was never fat, ever. But even in the beginning of his offseason, his legs looked tiny. By the time he's on stage, you forgot because there was so much detail everywhere. You were too busy complimenting him on how shredded he was to remember his legs were a little thin.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I really believe that. It's like you're too busy noticing all the crazy shit. And it's like, everyone's legs are a little bit smaller. Like, that's fine.
So because
he's the only guy that has that detail.
So the word busy, I actually use that word a lot. I was like, you want your physique to be as busy as possible because it distracts from issues.
Right.
Like the more you have going on, like, oh, there's a wild party there and a wild party over there. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
His pecs are jumping and his lats are striated and everything. It just conditioning it distracts from all the things that might be wrong with you, you know?
JJ Marsh told me back in the day, his thing was this. He said, listen, the judges have a job to do. They have to look at everyone. But the question is, who do they want to keep looking at? Where does their eye want to go back to? And when you are shredded, once they've glanced across at all of you, they're going to want to, and then when you're moving and shit's moving with it, he goes, they can't help it. And it was funny because he was explaining to me how a guy like me can win because he's like, odds are you're going to have one of the least superior genetic physiques as far as structure that's up there. So you have to have so much detail that they forget. And I actually understood that so immensely because I've been to enough shows where you see it. And it's like, this guy's, I have a friend that he came into a show and he was so peeled, I forgot he had a torn pec.
Right.
I was literally so busy being like, how the fuck did he do that? And I'm like, oh God. Oh, that's right. Your pec is like gone.
Right.
Yeah. So that's fine. Busy. I'm stealing that. That's now been stolen. I will, give you a little credit every time I use the word.
I've got one here for you.
Shoot.
What is the biggest mental hurdle that you ever had to overcome as a bodybuilder?
I would say, here for me, it was tricky because this is weird because I didn't really feel like it was an enormous hurdle. But so I came on the scene quickly. I won junior nationals. I took 5th at the USA's. And then I had a fluke of a 10th place finish at nationals the following year. It was a fluke, and I knew it was a fluke, and it was a fluke, and it was a fluke. And then the following year, I got a 10th place finish again. And now the question is, was the USA's a fluke, or was 10th place a fluke? Because I have 2 10ths and 1 5th. So it was overcoming that, which wasn't extremely difficult because I knew I wasn't my best, but I'd be lying if I didn't say it made the next show enormously important. Like, I think if I wouldn't have placed in the top 5 at my next show, I would have retired.
Right.
Because it would have been like, oh, I was wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I never had a bad placing like that again. But yeah, that was, I will admit, and no one knew that, but for me, it was like, oh shit. Like the first one I was certain, like we dieted too far. It was that. Then the second one, it was kind of like, I'm getting dusted here.
Right.
And I think I was a little added pressure, kind of similar to the blessing thing I was talking about earlier, only it wasn't self-induced, which was I was getting paid. I was probably the only guy there making real money, and I was getting my ass kicked. And it was like, shit, is that justified?
And then you're wondering, is this going to end?
Yeah. Should I be getting paid? Or, you know what I mean? Because at the time, social media wasn't what it is now. Like now it would have made me blink. I'd be like, the fucking show doesn't even matter. But then it was kind of like, this might all come to an end. And it was a significant place of my income. So yeah, that was definitely the time. How about you?
I mean, well, one of the biggest hurdles obviously was rehabbing my quad and dealing with my quad tear, but I was already done competing when that happened generally.
Yeah.
So when I think of like challenge as a bodybuilder, I mean, it would have been just having to deal with, they say second place is like the worst place to get because, you're the first loser.
Right.
And you're like, if you're third or fourth or fifth, you're like, okay, well, back to the drawing board. But if you're second, you're like, if I would have done like one more low carb day, would I have won that show?
Right.
Like if I had not carb loaded, would I have won that show? Mm-hmm. If I had like just done something different or thought differently or just thought differently at 6 weeks out, would I have maybe won that show?
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge, like, that's tough. And it's also too, like, I haven't talked about this for a while because it's like old news, but I was second 10 times at pro qualifiers. So like I watched the guy in front of me turn pro because he would usually win the overall or at least get the second card.
Right.
Because a super heavyweight would either get the card or he'd get the second card. So it's like no matter what, the guy in front of me was pretty much gone every fucking time I got second.
Yeah, so you were next in line, so to speak.
Pro. And I was like, fuck. So then you start to think like, well, most bodybuilders, they either got it, right? Phil Heath, walks into the USA's, got it.
Yeah.
Or they don't got it, which is most bodybuilders. They don't got it to be like a pro.
Right.
Maybe the reality is that you are just 1% off that cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
Your genetics are just 1% not enough. Or your work ethic is 1% not enough. Or your decision making is 1% not correct enough.
Right.
And maybe it's just a decimal point of effort that you think you're putting in, but you're not. That could have changed the tide on that. You could have beat that guy. If you started your diet over again right now and did the same show, maybe you would have beat that guy. That starts to add up and it gets really tough. And I'm not really, honestly, people go, how did you get past that? And first of all, I genuinely loved bodybuilding and competing and pushing for I loved the process.
Right.
That was one of the major things. Like, you cannot do that if you don't want to do it.
Right.
You'll find a way to get out of doing it. Like, you can't do that many shows and come that close if you don't really, really, really want to be there.
Right.
And then secondly is I'm super stubborn. So there's like a stubbornness that most people are probably better off not being that stubborn. Right? It's not even a good quality, maybe. Maybe it's a bad quality.
I'm not necessarily saying it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, because you have that type of stubbornness and direct it towards like a toxic relationship, and you wind up spending like 20 years with the wrong person, right?
Right.
Like you can, like that type of stubbornness where I'm like, no, I'm fucking doing this. That type of stubbornness can destroy your life if you pick the wrong thing and apply it to it.
Right.
So then you start to wonder, like all this stuff starts to like, is this my greatest quality or is this my downfall?
Yeah. And you could see yourself. I mean, if someone didn't know, I mean, I imagine people in your life who would have never guessed your life to be where it is now could have thought that bodybuilding was your toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with your life?
I've asked a few of my I've asked a few of my close friends, like, hey, did you ever come close to like stepping in?
Right. It's a valid question. That's a very, like, to a true friend.
Yeah.
So I think people would know the line though, because I could see, Ron, like you come to me after your second place. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Of course you keep going. It's right there. After your seventh, I might be like, you are 7 years older.
Well, yeah, plus the odd, plus I got a fifth and a sixth and a third and a fourth in there. So you're 10 years older, 11 years older.
So when you're looking at that, you're like, okay, I could definitely.
And then I had the win and didn't get the card.
Yeah, I could see how it would be at some point. If I'm in your shoes, I could definitely. I know, and you are a logical person. You're not wasteful, and you are. There's a reason you are where you are financially in life, and it's not because you've made millions of dollars. It's because you make sound decisions. So your passion for bodybuilding is why you kept going. It wasn't even about the card anymore. I really don't think it was. I think you love bodybuilding.
Yeah, and then there'd be the odd time, like, you know how people can say shit and you're pretty good at like moving past it and like, whatever the fuck that guy says, I don't give a shit. Right. But then every once in a while, somebody like you really respect will, openly say, and they're not talking about you, right? But they'll openly say something like, well, some of these guys are just so delusional about turning pro. I mean, they just don't know when to call it quits. Like they're coming back to, I'm seeing them in Miami at nationals, 5, 6, 7 years in a row.
And you're like, I'm at 10.
And you're thinking, you're 14. Fuck. So then you have these moments like, oh shit, so sometimes that like invades your mind and then you have to like deal with that. Like, how much does this really weigh? Is this like important? This thing. And so there's like there's that stuff. So it's tough to manage and, you have to like make decisions. And then it did get so that like, I wasn't just automatically like renewed for another year every time, like,
right.
Because most of the seconds, like the first half of them, I'm like, Kate got second today. Kate, fuck it. Let's go. Prep starts tomorrow.
Right.
And just like, but then, I remember 2010, I remember I said to my girlfriend at the time, I was like, I don't know. I think that might've been it. And she's like, okay, well, let's go eat, and so it wasn't as automatic.
Right.
So, but, at the end of the day, I always wanted to prove something to myself. And that was one thing that kept me going was like, I always believed I could earn a pro card and I just didn't want to quit. And I just thought, fuck, So, but yeah, that's tough mentally when you're close like that. Like I think about how hard that was for me and I think about Jay because, that's the Olympia.
Yeah.
And obviously he's like in a position where there's a ton of more money involved. So it's still financially worth it to like keep pushing and all that stuff. But I know that Jay didn't care about the money at the time. He wanted to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, that's what drove. That's what drove him. Yeah, he wasn't there for the $100,000.
Yeah, back then the Hummer. Yeah, so I think, man, that's at the end of the day, I mean, whether or not that was long term a worthy use of my time and energy, I try to be proud of the fact that I was at least able to like close that chapter properly in a way. Maybe not the way I dreamed of as a kid, but just like, at least make it like, so that it's like, it's a book that's like finished.
Right.
Like, it's not like chapter 10 and there's like pages missing.
Right.
Like, that was always my like fear.
But I think I mean, you can have a finished book, and I bring this up not for you, but for everyone listening is, I think that the chase for a pro card or for the fame or the money of bodybuilding, some of us have forgotten that you just love doing this. Not you, all of us that are on here. And you got to remember is, had you went 8, 10 years, whatever, let's say the year before you turned pro, you stopped. You would not look back and regret it because look at the memories, look where it puts you, look at the world travel.
Yeah.
And forget about, I'm not saying, I know everyone won't have those things, but I really think people need to remember, because on the flip, I don't know, if I take up bass fishing when I'm done with this, I'm going to go buy a $100,000 boat. I'm going to go buy all this shit. And in 5 years, I might decide I don't really like bass fishing that much and sell it and lose money. But if I enjoyed it for those 5 years, it wasn't a loss. Like I think that there's something that I can't stand about our world in general, which is if something doesn't play out the way we thought it would, we say it wasn't meant to be. And it's like, no, maybe that's exactly what it was meant to be.
Yeah.
What it was.
Hey, you know the old thing about The Rock, he said not making the NFL, being a football reject is like, look at him now. Ha, ha, ha. He doesn't have CTE.
Yeah. And I think he's made a hell of a lot more money than he would have playing football. So, and fame and all those other things.
Also, too, another thing that was weird for me that I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but when Mutant first signed me and I first started traveling with Rich, because that was kind of how it started. Like I started traveling with Mutant and like right away Rich was added to the mix. I think I only did like a couple of things where we didn't have Rich.
Right.
You know? And I remember like just the pandemonium about Rich and all this stuff. And I didn't have a pro card yet. Right. It was 2012. I didn't have a pro card. And then also too, you know, like they were sending me to the Olympia and the Arnold. And I had a little bit of imposter syndrome.
I know what you mean.
Like I remember like standing at the booth. I'm like, why am I here? Like, and of course there's people talking to you and it's all like on the outside, it's all fun and cool. There's people chatting, you're signing stuff. Right. But I remember I just sort of had this feeling like no one's really here to see me. Like I could just leave and the booth would still be the same and like no one would really notice.
Right.
And so I remember feeling like that a little bit, like a little bit of imposter syndrome, you know, like I'd walk past the other booths and I'd see like, you know, Seth and Flex and I'm waving at guys and they're saying hi. And then I get to the booth and I'm like, I'm not a pro.
Right.
Like, why the fuck am I at this booth? Like, I could see Rich, he's like an exception, but like, what do I have? Like, I'm not a pro and I'm not Rich. So if I'm not a pro and I'm not Rich, like, why am I even here? Like, but I just better smile. I want to keep my job and keep talking to people. I remember there's a little bit of like awkwardness I don't know if it ever showed, but I was like, I remember feeling it.
Right.
And that's just because, you know, sometimes we don't let ourselves enjoy things as much as we should at first, or we, you know, put too much pressure on ourselves to like, you know, be more than we, you know, whatever. I don't know how to word it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think that's why it's important that people see, like, I love, a lot of bodybuilders are very against where the industry is and where the world is. And I'm the opposite. I look, and not just because I cash in on it, but because I really think that's the way the world works. You got to adjust. You got to move. You know, Rich is a prime example. He's bigger than bodybuilding. He's bigger than the IFBB for sure. His lines and his, I don't even want to say popularity, but his reach on impacting people is as high as anyone. I mean, what's the last show Rob Bailey did?
Yeah. So here's a funny thing. Here's a funny thing that you just sort of pointed out, which is the lesson of the whole thing.
Right.
Is Rich taught me. So here I am. At first, I have imposter syndrome. Right.
Right.
Like, why am I here? I'm not a pro, and I'm not you. Right. Like Rich.
Yeah.
He showed me. He's like, guess what? You don't have to be either one of those things anymore. Be you.
Right.
Like you. Like, why the fuck not? Like, why can't you be the draw without a pro card and without tattoos? Like, you don't have to be me, and you don't have to be like, it's just all about the way you handle it and present yourself. And, you know, I remember he used to show me his phone all the time, and he'd be like, none of that stuff fucking matters anymore. None of that stuff matters anymore.
Yeah.
Like, well, you don't have a pro card? No one on here even cares.
Yeah.
No one, half the people that are on this don't even know you don't have a pro card. I remember him saying that to me.
You know, when I turned pro, it's funny. It was a realization I had when I turned pro, and I'm not somebody who put the IFBB in my name. I shouldn't care. But I remember, like, I put up a post somehow just saying, because it wasn't exciting. It was a relief.
Yeah.
I finally did it. So I put that up, and I had like multiple people literally comment, I didn't know you weren't a pro.
Yeah. I know.
Because not only do they not know, but they don't know that the USA's is not a pro show. Like, they don't know. They follow me because I'm funny at Costco.
Right.
And then you start finding out, I mean, truthfully, and that's why it's funny, but you make jokes and stuff, and they don't even know that you're not a great bodybuilder. Like I'll tell people I'm not a great bodybuilder, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I mean, in the world scheme, yes, I can win any show in town easily, but against the very, very best, I'm terrible. They don't know that.
Yeah, that's another thing that the expos taught me. Like exposure to that taught me, because coming from where I was a guy that knew everyone's placing and everyone's story and all the guys and the order with which they started and retired and the history of I was one of those kids that knew all the 90s and 2000s bodybuilding trivia, right? So I assumed that, the other people at the expo that stand in line to get a shirt and a picture with you are the same.
Yeah.
But then I quickly learned at the Arnold, I remember my first Arnold with Rich, he kept pointing out to me, he's like, half these people don't know who anybody here is. They're just here because the expo is the biggest event in town, and they drive up every year from their tiny little town 2 states away, and they get some free merch and hope to see Arnold.
Yeah.
And they don't even necessarily know me. They just see the line and they just want to get in it.
Yeah, or they see the freak factor. I mean, how would you not want to get a picture with him?
Yeah, so he just kept saying all this stuff that you have in your head about your where you fit in the levels and stuff. A lot of these people, they ain't even aware of the levels.
Yeah. You're just
they don't even know there's levels.
Yeah.
They don't have a fucking clue. I could tell them that I'm going to be Mr. Olympia, and they'd be like, oh, fuck. Rich was great for that. He was funny. Put it in perspective.
It really helps. So, no, I think it's awesome. But I like that people realize that. It's funny, and I know we're closing in, so we'll let this go. But,
yeah, I'm actually on 4%.
Something that Tom and I talked about the other day, he's getting ready for his first, he's going to do the junior nationals in the USAs. And Todd, my video guy, said, man, you think you'll go turn pro this year? And Tommy goes, God, I hope not.
Yeah.
And I laughed because I knew what he meant. And he's like, what? And he was like, well, I'm not ready. And that would be the worst thing to happen to me. He goes, because it would be over.
Where do you go to?
He goes, hopefully I'll have years of chasing that I'll get to enjoy. And the funny part is Tommy's wired different. He's not even talking about getting it. Years to chase it and have fun and be in the mix. And it's funny because I would love to take credit for that as a mentor, but it's just he's always had that mindset. Is he loves to live the life and grind. He reminds me of you then.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, at some point he'd like to check the box, I'm sure, but he's never actually told that to me, ever.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it because it's about the grind, and he gets it. It taking me years. I remember in 2011, had I come in the way I looked 3 weeks out, I would have turned pro.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be on this show right now, and no one would know my name.
Well, it's a good thing to keep in mind, everybody. You got to embrace a grind, and I'm on 3%, so we obviously had a good grind because I had a full battery when we started.
I live on that American plug life, but yeah, it's all good, buddy.
I gotta go train. A little far. Thanks, everybody. And we're looking forward. We got another couple of guests that we're going to confirm dates with. Like I said, we got John Jewett booked. So we're looking forward to this stuff. And thanks for joining us. And thanks for supporting. And share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell.
Ding.
And I loved the crickets last episode. Great touch. Okay. And thanks to Scott for piping in on the Indy talk there when we were Instagram dumb and helping us out with some of that stuff. He's right there when we need him.
Every time.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.